Yeah, and it's like, so that essay about, that story I told about my upside down sister, that's one of the essays in it. And again, on the face of it, it's just this page and a half. All that happens is my sister and I are walking on our hands. But the inside is vast because I came to understand this idea of upside down love, love that's not sort of pure or, you don't have the love isn't returned in the way that you offer it. So from the other person, it just feels upside down.
Everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. It's an author podcast. And what do I love? I love talking to authors. And when I get somebody on the screen who has been writing for a while now and has a lot of things that she has written about and a lot of great stories as well, she's met some interesting people. There's just too much for one episode. We're going to try to cram it all into one. Sue is here on the podcast, and I'm really excited to have her here. Going to fall in love with her as an author, and you have a library of stuff to ingest and to enjoy from another great author. Sue, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. I truly enjoy to be here, and nice to spend some time with you. So thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, everybody that comes on the show, for the listeners, we get together and we plan out what we're going to talk about. And we have a meeting kind of ahead of time to plan and talk and get to know each other. And I left that meeting just going, wow, Sue's such a great person to have on the show. She's got a great laugh. She's very fun. There it is. And it's just nice to have time with Sue. So, Sue, tell everybody, first of all, where you are in this big world of ours. Let's start there.
Yes, right. So I live in West Michigan, in the United States. My house is about 5 blocks from Lake Michigan. So I'm probably about 3 hours from Detroit and 3 hours from Chicago. So sort of in the middle there.
Nice. So you're not too far from Canada, right?
No. If I go through Detroit and just keep going, I am in Canada. In fact, I have driven through Canada several times and actually really enjoy it.
There you go. Excellent. Well, there you go. Well, so as a neighbor, how are we? Are we good? Like, are we too rambunctious? Are we too loud? Are we okay as neighbors?
You are the best neighbors ever.
Okay. I'm fishing for compliments there. That's what's happening right now. I like that. That's great. Excellent. Yes. So is that where you're born and raised?
No, actually, I moved around a lot. I was born in D.C. I grew up in the West Indies. I went to high school in New Jersey. Wow. I went to college in Boston. I've lived in Galveston, Missouri, Georgia, and then finally in Michigan. Yes, I moved around a lot.
You went north. You just kept going up. Okay, there you go. There you go. Excellent. All right, that's great. Let's talk about a little bit about your author journey. You've been writing for a while, and you've written a lot. What was that initial spark for you to go, I really want to take this path as a writer and share my words? Like, something had to spark that. What was it for you?
Well, what's interesting and sort of embarrassing is that I'm probably the only author in the world who I don't really know what that spark is, except that I was in therapy. This was when I was living in Galveston. I was in therapy. I was sort of having a nervous breakdown. It was completely falling apart. And one day I think my therapist sort of asked me how I saw myself. And I couldn't answer the question. I have no idea who I am. So I went home. I had this little, age man, this little portable Smith Corona, typewriter. Yeah. I scrolled a piece of paper into the typewriter and I started typing. And frankly, it was fiction. I was writing a novel. This was sort of before the big creative nonfiction memoir phase. So I started writing a novel, but it's not like I had been writing all my life. I didn't even write sort of that bad high school poetry that everybody writes. I didn't even do that. I never kept a journal or a diary. So in some ways, it sort of came out of nowhere, except that this question by this therapist kind of struck me as like, oh my goodness, I don't know who I am. And even though I was writing fiction, and I should say it was bad fiction, none of it ever got published, but yet it was autobiographical. And on some level, sort of every word I kind of typed did kind of bring me closer and closer to me. And then also, ironically, it was another therapist who, after I spent 10 years writing bad fiction, it was another therapist who said, Sue, why don't you try writing a memoir, write about yourself? And at first I thought, I have nothing to say about myself. I mean, here I am in therapy like for years. I don't have anything to say about myself. Clearly, the therapist knew more than I knew.
Yeah.
And so sort of to humor him, I started what became my first memoir.
Wow. Okay. What changed for you in the process of writing then? As you started typing away on that typewriter, how did that kind of unpack for you then in the process?
I did start so I grew up, my father kind of misloved me, and it was a very traumatic childhood. And I think, and I had never told anybody about it. I didn't even tell that first therapist about it. Wow. And so ironically, not, I mean, really not ironically in some ways, but that first kind of bad novel that I wrote really had to do with growing up in this kind of a family. And so, it felt sort of safe because I was disguising it as fiction and all of that. But really, with every word, I mean, the reason why the fiction didn't work is that the voice was very kind of emotionally inauthentic. And as soon as I switched to writing memoir and creative nonfiction, I really heard my voice. Oh, this is the genre I am meant to write in. And so really with every book, it's just, writing creative nonfiction is sort of a journey of self-discovery, a journey into the self to understand like the metaphors of your experience. What do these things mean? It's not just writing, oh, this happened to me. It's understanding why it happened. What does it mean? And so with everything that I write, it's just much deeper self-awareness. But I sort of hasten to add that it's not kind of like a narcissistic journey at all, because if you're writing literary nonfiction, you are writing about the human condition. Yeah. So that even if you haven't had the same exact experience as I've had, by writing metaphorically and reflectively, then a reader would be able to relate to my that emotional experience, because like, what do I write about? I mean, I write about loss, search for love, alienation, sense of self. I mean, at times we all sort of go through, moments when we're searching for things like that. And so my underlying themes are things that, really I think anybody could relate to.
Do you think you could have written a memoir without writing that first book?
No, I really think I had to go through, I think I had to do it exactly the way I did do it.
Okay.
Because, I think I was just too scared to really kind of claim this experience as my own. Yeah. So I think I just had to, I just think, and it's like, I don't regret all that time I spent writing fiction at all, because it was a learning process. I was learning how to write. My writing was getting better and better. And so that when I hit the moment when I wrote the first memoir, I had like 10 years of writing experience. Yeah. And so I was just ready to go.
Yeah. So that first book, though, as kind of your initial starting point, it kind of, when I'm listening to you describe it, it feels like you're describing that moment where you have to go out to the car and you just put someone else's shoes on just to go get the thing in the car and come back. But the shoes don't fit. They're not your shoes. They're clumsy, right? Is that kind of like that first book? It's just like, I just feel like I'm doing someone else's project. It's not my voice in the moment.
Yeah, that's speaking of metaphors.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it was like. It just, that wasn't me, but it brought me to me.
Oh, okay. Right. So it was kind of it was a path.
Exactly. It absolutely was. And, on paths, sometimes we make the wrong turn. Sometimes we get a little bit lost. We hit a dead end. But eventually I got where I was meant to go.
Interesting. I love that you love metaphors, because I love metaphors as well.
Yeah.
We're going to pack as many in here as we can today, the two of us. What is it, speaking of metaphors, what is it about a metaphor that you find as a useful tool as a writer? Why metaphors?
Because the metaphor is what deepens the experience and helps you to understand what it all means. Because otherwise, you are just writing like this surface story. I mean, let me just give an example. So, in my new book, Selected Misdemeanors, there's an essay that I write about my sister and I, when we were kids. And we used to play this game. We would walk on our hands and see who reached a destination first. So she's older than I am. She always won. And that was really the only time she would play with me because she knew that she could beat me and she really didn't love me a whole lot. And I played with her because that was the only time she would pay attention to me. And I sort of didn't even care if I lost because at least, because I idolized her. I loved her. And okay, so just what I just said to you is like, that's an interesting anecdote, whatever. However, in the writing process, what I discovered was this metaphor of walking on her hands. My sister was upside down, right? And so I discovered that this upside down sister really was a metaphor for the upside down love that she felt for me. Oh. In other words, I think she loved me, but you couldn't really show it. And so it was all just upside down. And I would not have understood sort of how to really convey this kind of loss of love or lack of love if I hadn't written that little essay. I mean, the essay is short, it's just like a page and a half or something. So it's short, but writing it, I came to understand what it meant. And so this upside down sister is the metaphor. So again, and then the metaphor is what makes it your essay or your work universal. Yeah. So again, let's say if you read the essay, maybe you never had an older sister and then you didn't walk on your hands and play this game. So you couldn't relate to that surface story. But again, at some point in your life, you probably have been in love with somebody who maybe didn't love you the way you wanted them to. Yeah. And so the love felt all upside down. So that is the power and the beauty of metaphor.
There you go. Right? I like that. Yeah, I think it helps the reader to put themselves into the story and to feel a connection as well. It doesn't feel like your story and I'm reading your story. It feels like our story.
Exactly. And that's sort of the point, really, of writing is that you want to bring the reader inside the experience. It's almost like, okay, like I would take a reader by the hand and, come with me on this journey that I'm on. And if they trust the voice and if they trust you as the author and narrator, they'll come with you. And so then it is like a shared experience.
Yeah. And then the part about writing a memoir then is how do you make it not all about you when the story's about you, and you're just like you said, kind of a narcissistic way of just look at me. It's there's got to be something in there for the reader as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's where it's at. That's the whole thing. And so the only way to do that is to make it not like this happened to me, and don't you want to care about it? Yeah. No, the reader say I really don't. But if you are writing metaphorically, then you're writing, about the human condition. I mean, like after, I publish a book, I just get a lot of, emails from readers saying, kind of thanking me for telling their story too. And, they've really engaged it. And, some say, look, I haven't had the same experience as you've had, but I really relate to kind of the emotion of it. I have felt the same things that you have felt. And so that's, that's the beauty of it all. That's what's so meaningful, and it's empowering, not just for me to, get positive feedback, which of course is nice, but it's sort of, we are each empowered by it. They can be empowered by my story. I can be empowered by their reaction. So we have this relationship.
One of the things I love to do on this show, Sue, is I want to honor authors that listen to this show who come for inspiration from a fellow author, because maybe they're new to the journey of writing. They have their typewriter and they got a blank piece of paper stuck in that typewriter and they have no idea what to do. But they listen to you on this show and go, oh, if I could just have a few moments with Sue to get some inspiration. I love to turn the mic over to you and for you to talk to that author who's listening to us right now. And what do you think could be a helpful way to encourage them to continue or start their journey as a writer, what do you think would be helpful for that person listening right now? What should we say to them?
I think the first thing, because this is almost step one, is to trust your story and trust your voice and to know your voice is important. I mean, the craft will come. You can take some writing classes, something like that. You can learn the craft. But before you even get there, you really have to have the courage to sit down, stare at a blank computer screen, and believe in your story. And, in creative nonfiction, I mean, know that your story is important. And if you don't tell it, nobody else is going to. And then it's just lost forever, which is just so sad. So just, believe in your words and don't, when you start writing, sort of don't think about the outside world. Like, don't worry, oh, what will my mother think or what will the neighbors think if I tell this story? Don't even think about that. First and foremost, just get the story down on paper. Just write it. Worry about the world later and what the reaction of the world might be. I mean, just don't even think about that at first, because just the most important thing, of course, is the writing, and it is getting it down on paper. So just believe in yourself and know that your words really are important.
You talked about people reaching out to you and giving you feedback. What's a piece of feedback that you've heard from a reader, someone who's been reading your work, that inspired you or encouraged you? Did anything kind of come to mind?
Yeah, it was really maybe because it was the first book and I was sort of new at it. But I gave it. So my first book is called Because I Remember Terror, Father, I Remember You. And I was giving a reading and at a bookstore. And after the reading, people are signing books and people were leaving. And there was this one woman who was just standing by herself in the corner, sort of clutching the book like a lifeline. And I knew she had something important to say to me. So I just waited till everybody else had left because I knew she was not going to talk to me in front of anybody else. So I waited for everybody else to leave. And then she kind of, crept up to me and she just said, this happened to me too, meaning that her father had sexually molested her as well. Mm-hmm. And I never have told anybody, not even a therapist. You are the first person I have told. And it's just like, oh God, my heart just broke. Yeah. And it's just, like I wanted to bring her home and take care of her. I mean, it's just like all my codependent things kicked in. Yeah. And, But she had the book. I mean, so she did have something. She had a place to start. Yeah. And, I just kind of encouraged her to, try to talk about it with her therapist. And it was so meaningful to me because it's like, oh my goodness, if I hadn't written the book,
right,
she wouldn't have had that experience and I wouldn't have had that experience. And that's like, by way of saying what I was to refer to what I was just talking about, that your words matter. They touch people. Writers, all artists, we make a difference. And that's sort of our job in the world, is to put our truth out there. And it's kind of to shake things up a little bit. Like, we aren't writing to make people feel happy. We're writing to make people feel and to sort of see truth. Yeah.
As we're chatting, I kind of glance over at your website here and there. There's a lot of things for us as readers to fall in love with. Could you give us kind of an overview? Like, how many books do you actually have, Sue?
Maybe 9.
9?
Maybe, yeah. So my first book was Because I Remember Terror, Father, I Remember You, and that, was sort of my core story and sort of obviously going to be the first book. And it is about growing up in this incestuous family. Yeah. And then my second book is Lovesick, One Woman's Journey Through Sexual Addiction, which is sort of an obvious second book because, where did the sex addiction arise? Obviously because of my childhood. Yeah. So I wrote about this addiction and recovery from it. And those two books are probably kind of my darkest. And then after that, I wrote a memoir in essay form, so sort of an essay collection called The Pat Boone Fan Club, My Life as a White Anglo-Saxon Jew.
Okay, wait a minute. Pat Boone?
Yes, I know. It's a little embarrassing. But so when I was growing up, for those of you who are maybe a lot younger than I am. Pat Boone was an early 1960s pop music idol. I mean, he was like really famous,
Oh, yeah.
and in his time as famous as Elvis Presley. But he was the antithesis of Elvis. Elvis was sort of the bad guy. Pat Boone was like this squeaky clean, good guy.
Yeah.
And he had 4 daughters, and I wanted him to adopt me. And because to me, he was also the antithesis of my own father.
Right.
So, speaking of metaphors, Pat Boone was a metaphor for the good father.
Yeah.
So I wanted him to adopt me. And needless to say, he did not. But fast forward several decades, and I've published a few books, and it turns out that Pat Boone is giving like a golden oldies concert, like 15 minutes from my house. I went there. I after the concert, I stalked him. I barged backstage, barged past security. I just was going to meet him. I found where he was, and I kind of threw myself at him. And I had a letter prepared and my first book. And I said, Pat Boone, growing up, I really, I wanted you to be my father, and you meant so much to me, and you offered me this sense of hope that there were sort of like good men out there. I just babbled. I mean, he thought I was just probably completely bonkers, but I just babbled at him for about 5 minutes. Finally, his manager sort of edged me out of the room. But I gave him this letter and my first book. And then, I don't know, it must have been close to a year later, I got a letter from him and saying, I kind of remember meeting you, but I've read your book. And it was a really beautiful letter.
Wow.
I mean, it was just beautiful. And then that kind of inspired me to write this book. The whole book is not about Pat Boone. It is about my misguided search for spirituality. And there are probably about 3 or 4 essays that are about Pat Boone, because then he was going to be back in Michigan, and he invited me to come to this Christmas concert he was giving and to come backstage, and we would have like a real conversation.
Really?
So I did, yes. Wow. So I did. So I went there, and he just was so sweet. He said, I was wearing this little lavender jacket with this embroidered flower on it. And he said, Sue, to me, he said, Sue, at home, I have a photograph of a flower growing up through concrete. And that's what you remind me of, a flower growing up through concrete. So, in some ways, he was my father, because he heard me. He heard my voice more than my own father ever did. And then I published this, the Pat Boone Fan Club, My Life as a White Anglo-Saxon Jew. And as it so happens, he was having like his 80th birthday party out in Beverly Hills, Hollywood, whatever. He invited me to come to his birthday party. Yes. So I flew out. I went to his birthday party. And I mean, it was just, and he had read the book then that had his name on it. And he thanked me, because at this point, nobody's even thinking of Pat Boone, let's face it. So he was thrilled that anybody still remembered him, I think. And it was just amazing.
So, okay, for the authors and the writers that are new, just a little lesson there. Acknowledge the people who mean something to you, right? Share the story, and you never know. You don't do it for that purpose, but you never know who's going to come across this, right? Yeah.
I mean, write your obsessions. Yeah. I mean, that's what I do. I write about my obsessions. And so then I also have written 2 craft books about the craft of writing creative nonfiction. One is Acetylene Torch Songs, Writing True Stories to Ignite the Soul. So I've got 2 craft books. I have 2 poetry books. But then my next creative nonfiction book was How to Survive Death and Other Inconveniences. And that has to do with it's obviously very ironic. I mean, the Pat Boone book is pretty ironic, too. So the voice is has more humor to it. It's lighter. And it is sort of about my fear of death, though. But, how can I survive it? But then also, how can I survive these other inconveniences, which I see as sort of like mini kind of little forms of death, if you're depressed or if you have an addiction or divorce, things like that. Sort of just how do we survive things. And then my most recent book is Selected Misdemeanors.
There it is.
Essays at the mercy of the reader. And it's a collection of flash essays. And speaking of obsessions, so there's about 71 essays in the book, and each one is kind of one of my obsessions. So if you're a writer, it's real. Here's some more advice for writers. Make a list of all your obsessions and just see where your energy is drawn to first, because that's where we want to write, is from something that it really means a lot to us.
Yeah.
Something that you feel very deeply about. And so I am an incredibly obsessive person. And so that's good. I mean, so I have a lot to write about.
Nice. Okay, so is there a difference between a short story and a flash essay?
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, a short story usually implies fiction.
Okay.
And a personal essay is sort of like the equivalent of a short story, but it's true.
Yeah.
And so like in the Pat Boone book and How to Survive Death, those are like long essays that say they're, 10, 15, 20 pages or so, something like that.
Okay.
A flash essay, and there's flash fiction as well, but a flash essay is just a very short form. So it's anywhere from maybe, like some of the essays in this book are like a paragraph. Some are maybe 750 words. Usually the average for a flash is maybe around 750 to 1,000, maybe 1,500 words. So they're just short.
Okay.
But the form is short. Yeah, it's very short. But the inside has to be vast, because it's not just like, again, it's not going to be like an anecdote, like, oh, this happened to me. The inside is vast because of metaphor.
Yeah.
Because each of the flash essays it revolves around an obsession, but then I have to find a metaphor that represents that obsession. And then when I'm writing metaphorically, then I'm writing universally. So the outside is small, the inside is emotionally vast.
Interesting. Okay. So there's a world in a drop of rain or something, right? There's a whole thing going on here. It might seem like small, but it's wide. I
right.
like that.
Yeah. And it's like, so that essay that story I told about my upside down sister, that's one of the essays in it. And again, on the face of it, it's just this page and a half. All that happens is my sister and I are walking on our hands. But the inside is vast because I came to understand this idea of upside down love, love that's not sort of pure, or, you don't have like the love isn't returned in the way that you offer it. So from the other person, it just feels upside down.
How do you organize something like this book compared to like a memoir, which has a storyline and is kind of a longer story to tell? How do you organize this? Is there an art to how you format this kind of book for the reader?
Well, there's a challenge to it, for sure. Yeah, because the first two books were, straight through narratives. You sort of knew what was going to come next and all that. In an essay collection, there is more of a challenge. But what I did is, so like in this book, is divided into 3 parts.
Okay.
And which helps to sort of give the essays a kind of a focus. So the first part is called Strange Entanglements, which sort of entanglements about relationships and love and everything. The second part is How to and How Not. And they're sort of a little bit tongue-in-cheek, like how to do something. And like one of them is, how to find the snow leopard in Georgia, which, you're not going to, of course. But it's just like a very short essay. And it's my first day in rehab, and I didn't want to be there. And I just read the book, The Snow Leopard by Peter Matheson, which is a brilliant creative nonfiction book. And I wanted to be a snow leopard. I'm fantasizing about being a snow leopard. Why? Because, so I'm in rehab because of all these men that, that are sort of, I feel like they're closing in on me. And I can't escape these men. But snow leopards, they live, on Mount Everest, and nobody ever sees them. And they're very mystical and isolated, and it's cold, and it's just very icy. And that's how I wanted to feel. I didn't want to have all these feelings I was feeling. I just wanted to be in isolation, a place where nobody could see me or find me. So the snow leopard, even though it's not a real snow leopard in the book, but the fantasy of the snow leopard, again, it's a metaphor for this sense of isolation that I, as the narrator, want.
Right.
So the second section is how to and how not, which is like what not to do. And then the third section is called grieflets, which are just sort of like many forms of grief and kind of loss. So I do that. So that's one way to organize, is to kind of split your book into parts so that each can sort of have a focus. The other thing that I did is kind of like through threads. So the book has 13 photo essays, like, I don't know how much they can see.
Yeah.
And so there's the photograph, and then on the other side, there's a title and a little text about the photos.
Okay.
And so there are 13 of those that are just sprinkled throughout the book, which helps sort of also give the book a sense of coherence.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but then, which essay goes where and all of that, it's sort of playing around with them, which can sort of be fun, sort of like putting a puzzle together, okay, would this essay go better here or there? So it's sort of, it takes a while. I kind of can print them all out and spread them across the floor and just kind of move them around and see where they fit, because you do ultimately want to form a kind of arc.
Yeah.
I mean, a sort of, a thematic whole. And in fact, this book does have sort of an overall theme, which is that I, as narrator, I'm searching for a sense of home, kind of capital H, comfort, security, stuff like that. However, even though on the one hand, I'm looking for the sense of home, my behaviors are such that I'm kind of emotionally sabotaging them. So let me just say, first of all, so the book is selected misdemeanors, but I want to be clear that my misdemeanors, like, none of them were illegal. I didn't end up in jail. It's not like those kind of misdemeanors. Yeah. They're emotional misdemeanors. Okay. So anyway, so as I say, the theme is the search for home, but the narrator, her actions, her choices, all really sabotage that attempt to find this sense of home. And just for an example, another essay takes place. So when I lived in Galveston, I was married, and there's one night my husband was out of town, and I was alone, but I went to this sort of seedy Gulf Coast bar. There are a lot of them, along the whole Gulf Coast of Texas there. So I was by myself, and I was drinking a little bit too much. And I just sort of thought, I think I'll get divorced. And so it's just sort of like, what? So this was pre-therapy. I was such a mess, and I really didn't know who I was or what I wanted. And so even though I had a home, I just blew it up. I just really blew it up. And granted, that marriage was not great, and so it wasn't like it was altogether a bad decision, but it's just like I didn't know how to find what I really wanted, because this was before I wrote, before I was in therapy. And so I just kept sabotaging it. So that's really the overall theme of the book, which again, of course, also forms the arc and kind of holds it together. And you can sort of see some progression, from the beginning to the end. Yeah.
The one thing, to jump back to the snow leopard for a second, when you're talking about that, the fact of the isolation of where snow leopards are found. The other side of it that I was thinking while you were talking, Sue, was that snow leopards are built for that environment. Right? They have everything they need to survive. You can't take a typical house cat and put them in that environment. They won't survive, right? So even though the environment is harsh, these snow leopards are designed for that environment.
Absolutely.
Right?
They have like these long furry tails. They wrap the tails around like their neck, and they keep warm. And they're really so beautiful. And yes, of course, I would have completely died. Even if I had a huge parka, I am not a hiker. I go for a walk around my neighborhood on the sidewalk, So, but it's just like this fantasy, that how can I get away? How can I escape my life? How can I escape this addiction? How can I escape all these men? Right. So of course the logical thing, go to Mount Everest,
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because based on your story and kind of using the snow leopard as that metaphor, you, even though you needed help through therapy, you had the same elements that a snow leopard would have. You had what it took to survive in that environment, right?
Oh, that's so sweet of you to say.
Have,
Yes,
right? You
thank
have
you.
the tools, you have the people to support you, right? You had all those things. You just had to uncover them and use them.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I'm going to hold on to that thought because
Right.
yeah, I mean nobody's quite said that to me in that way before. So that's really beautiful. Thank you. That really means a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in that animal as well, right? They're not a pet. They're fierce. They're fierce. You back them in,
they're
right?
big. Yeah,
They'll take care of themselves, and that's what I get when I talk to you and I listen to you, Sue. You have that side of you, and it's just it. I'm glad that you share your stories. Like, think of that woman again, going back to the signing in the corner, feeling timid and scared to talk to you about her journey, right?
Yeah.
The power you have attracted her to you, where she felt safe to talk to you.
That's so sweet. Thank you. That really means a lot. Yes, thank you.
Because you talked about that you needed that from somebody.
Yeah.
Right? And the fact that through your writing, you were able to then provide that to another human being, that's powerful. That's really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. That really does mean a lot to me. Thank you.
When you sit down to write something like this with these flash essays, my fear from an outside point of view would be that you do all this work, you assemble this amazing book, and then some editor walks in and goes, I'm going to change this for you and make it better. And you're like, no. I like it the way it is. Do you hand a project over to an editor in this process, or is it something you keep closer to yourself?
You do have to, once a publishing company buys your book, you don't really own it anymore. But I have had really good luck. I've had the best editors. Okay. And every suggestion I've gotten from an editor has made the book better.
Okay.
I mean, Now this most recent book, they asked for virtually nothing. They gave me a due date and it was really soon. I said, I really want to go through the book one more time and edit it myself. And so I made like a last round of revisions that, because I hadn't looked at it in a while and everything. So I made a last round of revisions and they just took it as is. Now it does go through copy editing, but that's sort of different. That's like commas and, yeah. So, but some of the other books, like Lovesick, went through a pretty hefty revision process, and my editor was like brilliant, and the book was so much better because of it. So you do want to sort of hold on to it, but I would also advise writers just to be open to what editors say, because we don't always know all the answers. Yeah. And so it's good to be open. And if you do disagree, just say why. And usually you can have a good conversation about it. And, sometimes you'll get your way. Sometimes there may be a third way to handle something. So, but I've been really lucky with publishers and with editors. I mean, it's just, because that can be scary.
Now, for the readers listening, they're super curious about selected misdemeanors. They want to grab a copy. But one thing I love doing is going out and they give you a little taste test when you go out and you go by a restaurant or something. They're like, "Oh, we want to try our new food item." And you're like, "Oh, I'd love to try that." Right? From a reader's perspective, now I'm putting you on the spot. The idea of hearing an author read to us a little portion from their book in the voice of the author is like a super joyful thing, because the words that are on the page because you wrote them, and as a reader we're reading them for the first time. But to hear an author read a little piece of it to us, I know we didn't set this up in advance, everyone. So Sue, is it possible that you can read a little bit to us, because I think the audience would really love to hear a portion, if you can, please.
Yeah, I would love to. And since we were talking about the one with my sister, it's short, but if it give me a cutoff.
Oh no, you go. You go. This is your show.
Okay, it's called Harbor Lights. Gravel grits my sweaty palms. My older sister and I walk on our hands outside the gate of our house atop Blackbeard's Hill on St. Thomas. The contest is to see who first reaches the mostly ruined Blackbeard's castle. Once I cross the limestone road, my hands tangle in overgrown weeds and fever grass. My upside-down sister wears khaki shorts and a wrinkled white shirt. I wear red, white, and blue check shorts and a color-coordinated halter top. This tomboy sister of mine is winning. As always, I only agree to her challenge so she will play with me. Otherwise, she's off someplace, as far as the island allows. My arms tire. I stagger, taking a few wobbly handstands to rebalance. I no longer see my sister, but I hear her ahead rustling the weeds. Sweat runnels up, down, my arms to my neck. Although I'm no longer on the road, one palm lands on a sharp sliver of limestone. My arms collapse as my sister reaches the rusty door of the castle. I won, she yells, triumphant, now standing over me. I want to ask her to take my hand, help me stand. I don't, because she won't. She either pretends she doesn't love me, or really doesn't. There's probably a difference. I look up at her. Her face is lost in a sheen of tropical light. A drop of her sweat lands on me, warm and salty as the sea, yet feels as distant as the horizon. I'm going to the marina, she adds, tucking her shirt into the waistband of her shorts. At the marina, she will climb the rigging of a ship or play on the trampoline. I myself once tried jumping on the trampoline, but it scared me. I was convinced that with one wild tumble, I would pitch into the Caribbean. She is the one to jump, bounce, run, climb, flee, walk upside down to outdistance me, leave me behind. Later that evening, alone, I rest my elbows on the still warm railing on the veranda. A trace of trade winds cools my sweaty arms. The sea and sky merge into blackness. Lights on ships moored in the harbor, reflecting in the water, are solitary stars tumbled from the sky. Does she love me, or doesn't she? By the time we are grown, I still won't know. I will also never know whether our father misloved her too. I ask. She remains a light, falling, rising beyond my wishes, outside my knowledge, beyond my grasp.
Wow. So many metaphors in there. I could feel it. I could feel the tingling in my hands while you're reading. I'm like, I was never good at handstands. I was terrible at them. But yeah, I could feel it. That was really great. Sue, thank you for doing that.
Thank you for asking. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. Let's talk about the website, Sue. I want to honor your time, and I really appreciate you being part of the podcast. Great conversation today. As far as where people can connect with you, Sue, and know more about your writings, your book, your contact information, and all that, I have a question to kind of wrap up here at the end. But can you tell us where you want to send the readers and the listeners so they can connect with you?
Sure. So my website is SueWilliamSilverman.com. So it's my whole name, SueWilliamSilverman. So SueWilliamSilverman.com. You can find a lot about me and my books there, and also my contact information. And in terms, you can buy the book, it'll take you to one of the bookstores, but it's available at sort of all the online stores where you would imagine. And, or if you have a local indie bookstore, just go and they can order it for you if they don't have it.
Excellent. Now, one thing I clicked on when I was on your website, I love your website, by the way. It's beautiful. Well done.
Thank you.
I clicked on a thing that said Lifetime TV movie. And I'm like, wait a minute. I have to ask Sue before she leaves, what is going on here? Can you tell us a little bit? We can read about it here on, and there's pictures and everything here on the website. Can you please tell us what happened? And I see you're reaching for something. I like this.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Tell us. Come on.
So, Lovesick, this is the book about recovering from sex addiction. This was made into a Lifetime TV movie.
Come on.
And so this is Sally Pressman on the cover. She is the actor who portrayed me. That's her, not me. Yeah. And so it was amazing because they invited me to the set. And I have like 2 words. I have a cameo in this movie. I loved it. So, and it was an amazing experience because everybody was so thoughtful and careful. And they would, like the director would say, we really want you to feel good about this movie. Like we really, so just let us know if anything looks wrong they just were so sweet. And everybody in the cast and crew had read the book. The catering service people, everybody had read the book. And Sally's copy of the book she showed me was all marked up and highlighted. And which was so cool. And she's a lovely person. And what was so amazing is that, so watching her play me, it's like I could feel myself. It's like she totally channeled me or something. I don't know. It was just amazing. But I am really, the movie, doesn't completely, follow the book, which, as it should be. They don't. Yeah. That's fine. It's a different medium. But they did an amazing job. I love the movie, and it really does capture the experience.
Wow. That's an amazing result, right? From being an author as well? Yeah.
It's like, just a once in a lifetime thing. It's just like, how many movies are actually, kind of green lighted to go ahead? So few. And it was a beautiful experience. It really was. I just loved it. And it was sort of like, it was also like having an out of body experience though, because they would call, Sally to the set, and sometimes they would call her Sue, and I'd say, wait, I'm over here, and there she's walking over. And it was so it was sort of out of body, but in a really beautiful way.
That's a great honor to have a story and a book released, but then to hear this kind of take on a new life, an additional life, adjacent to the book and supporting the book at the same time. That's beautiful.
I know. It really was. The whole experience was just absolutely amazing. I just loved every minute of it.
Excellent. Yeah. So as you listen, go to the website, go to Sue's website and click on that tab and Lifetime TV movie. And you'll see photos from the set. You'll see the actors and actresses there doing it. And it's really, really great. I'm glad you have that on your website, Sue. That's really great.
Yeah. Well, it's such a cool thing, Yeah. So right. And the movie you can rent it through Amazon Prime, I think.
Okay.
It is. So when, like maybe $3 or something, you can actually watch the movie. And watch for me, I have two words. And
did they write the words for you? Did you write your own words?
No. I had to practice them, of course. Will I forget my lines? So,
there you go. 2 words. I love it. There you go. You got the last 2 words in. I like that. That's good. So, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for coming on the show.
You.
Okay.
Thank you.
And my podcast is Living in the Next Chapter, so I know you're going to keep writing. So I'm going to leave the door open, and I'd love for you to come back in the future when you have new projects to talk about, so we can reconnect with each other and support you further in the future. Keep writing. You're a great author. So.
Oh, thank you. Really, I love talking to you. This has been such a joy. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Everyone, all the information is always in the show notes. I know Sue would love to get your feedback on all of her books. So not if, but when you buy Sue's books, please leave a really good review as well. Share your thoughts on how these stories help you and how you connected with what Sue has written. I know she'd love to hear from you. And you can always reach out to her through the website in the show notes and let her know that you heard this as well. And if you are timid at the next book signing and you don't know if the author wants to hear your thoughts, put yourself out there. share your
Yes.
thoughts with that author. They would love to connect with you. They're not too busy for you. They really want to hear from their readers. So please do that.
That is so true. Just don't be shy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Sue, again, thank you so much for making time to be on the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Cheers. Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.